You want to know what I find to be interesting is that as a black man in America, Dr. King is held up as one of our greatest civil rights leaders of all time. But as a black man in America, I can go days without invoking this man's name for anything, for any reason whatsoever, unless I honestly feel his name needs to be mentioned in the conversation. And that brings me to the issue I have with people like this Jennifer Tejada. In case you don't know, she is a tech CEO for this company called PagerDuty. And there was some layoffs that occurred on her watch. And she basically, when it's layoffs happen, they usually have to tell the employee who's getting laid off, whether in person or through an email of some sort, that they're about to get laid off from their job. Instead of this woman handling this the way that a CEO should, in a more professional way, she sends them an MLK quote to kind of soften the blow. And people were so upset, and rightfully so, with it, because she misused, or should I say she misquoted Dr. King when she said what she said, which a lot of people tend to do. Now, I had to go in on that South of the Borderian, Pedro Gonzalez, a couple weeks ago on a live stream. Most of y'all know what I'm talking about, and that live stream is still very much public, so if you haven't seen it, you can go and watch it for yourself, where this guy went on a whole rant about Dr. King and why he shouldn't be celebrated because allegedly he cheated on his wife, which is something we always continue to hear, and some other things as well. Now, fast forward a couple weeks later, we have this other South of the Borderian, or at least a descendant of one or two, who decides that she's going to misquote Dr. King in an email to send to her employees that just got laid off from their jobs. I'm like, these people are going to have to scramble now to find out how they're going to make ends meet. And you want to send them a Dr. King quote? She could have sent anything else, but that's what she sent. A tech CEO is apologizing after quoting, or should I say misquoting, Martin Luther King Jr. in a layoffs announcement. On January 24th, PagerDuty CEO Jennifer Tejada sent a letter to employees announcing the digital operations management company would eliminate about 7% of its workforce. Tejada quoted King at the end of that letter. Something that Martin Luther King said, that the ultimate measure of a leader is not where they stand in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand in lines of challenge and controversy, she wrote. PagerDuty is a leader that stands behind its customers, its value, and our vision for an equitable world where we would transform critical work so all teams can delight their customers and build trust. On Friday, Tejada apologized for quoting King. The quote I included from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was inappropriate and insensitive, she said in the memo. I should have been more upfront about the layoffs in the email, more thoughtful about my tone, and more concise. I am sorry. And you got to think, she sent this same quote to 7% of the people that was getting laid off. So that means she sent it out to quite a few people. It's not like she sent it to one person. She sent it to all of the ones that were affected. I would be absolutely pissed with her if she sent me something like that. Like I said, she could have said anything else that was of reason, but that's what she sent. It was almost like a lazy attempt of, saying a job well done. I hope you land on your feet. When asked for additional comment, a representative of PagerDuty pointed to the blog post updated with Tejada's apology. The tech industry has seen a spat of layoffs in recent weeks. Amazon announced in early January that it would lay off more than 18,000 workers, and Salesforce said it plans to cut about 10% of its staff. Microsoft, meanwhile, is laying off 10,000 employees. I'm telling you, the rise of AI is almost here. Them robots is coming. Them robots is here. But yeah, if y'all, like I said, when you notice that people keep misappropriating and misquoting Dr. King, notice it's not us who's doing that. It's these others. It's these other groups. It's PC, the South of the Borderians, the Asians, and so on and so forth. And the thing is, the reason why we as black people get so tired of it, and every time they say, let's throw a scenario. They're saying something, a whole bunch of nothing, and they'll say, as the great Dr. King once said, and when they say that, it's like, oh God, here they go. Because we know they're going to misappropriate or misquote whatever it is that he said to try to fit into their narrative. That quote that she sent, and I'm going to go back and read it again. She says something Martin Luther King said, that the ultimate measure of a leader is not where they stand in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. That's not something you send to somebody who just got laid off. Someone who probably has a family to provide for. Maybe provide for themselves if they don't have a family and it's just them. Like, no. And they said that was at the end of the letter. That's how she ended the letter off. So I don't know what she put in the beginning of it, but she could have ended that off with something completely different, or just not left that off altogether and let the end be wherever the first part of the letter was. Signed off on it, and there you go. No one was trying to hear that. But look, she's the CEO. So she's over all of that. And she probably didn't even give a genuine apology. She just gave one because she had to give one. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. But people tend to always misuse and misquote Dr. King all the time. They completely bastardize that man's legacy and his image. To them, of course. We have a much more vast, more concise outlook on who he is, or who he was, I should say. Thank God. And the fact that they always invoke Dr. King's name for whatever reason lets you know they don't have a Dr. King in their ranks. Because that was one question I asked. I always ask, who was their Dr. King? Who was their Malcolm X? Who was their Medgar Evers? Who was their Rosa Parks? Who was their Coretta Scott King? Who was their Black Panther Party? I think, like, and whenever I ask that question, it's crickets. So what do? They lean in on Dr. King, and only Martin Luther King Jr. Nobody else. Because he's the easiest one to lean in on. Out of all of our leaders, he's the easiest one that they could pick from. And then when they do that, it plays itself out like this.